अरे लोग अलग तार जोड़ रहे हैं।
इस सज्जन को क्या तकलीफ है भाई?
मोदी जी गुस्से हो जाएंगे, किधर का कनेक्शन किधर जोड़ रहे हैं। और साथ ही साथ इटाली में करंट भेजने की बात, चलो ठीक है, पर ये जो ट्रंप रोज झटके दे रहा है उसका क्या?
माय फ्रेंड,
56 से ज्यादा बार, मोर देन 56 टाइम्स, प्लीज कनेक्ट द डॉट्स। इस डोलार ने बोल दिया है कि मैंने इंडिया पाकिस्तान की वॉर रुकवाई थी। अभी इसे फेस करने की जरूरत है, नेगोशिएट कैसे पिघल ये अपना भला नहीं कर पाए, आपका क्या करेंगे? फिलहाल आप हमारा भला कर सकते हो। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग इट। लव यू 3000। प्लीज टच करो।
मैंने टच किया टच किया
margin.
30 अक्टूबर 2025 देश की आर्थिक राजधानी मुंबई, उसका पोवई इलाका। यहां एक जाने माने रिकॉर्डिंग स्टूडियो में कुछ बच्चे एक वेब सीरीज के लिए ऑडिशन दे रहे थे। ये ऑडिशन वैसे तो पिछले 5 दिनों से चल रहे थे, लेकिन थर्सडे को इसका 6th और फाइनल डे होने वाला था। और यही वो दिन है जब चीजें अचानक से एक भयानक मोड़ ले लेती है। ये ऑडिशन कंडक्ट करा रहे थे 50 साल के रोहित आर्य, और इन्होंने पहले ही सिलेक्टेड बच्चों को और उनके पेरेंट्स को बता के रखा था कि ऑडिशन के आखिरी दिन एक हॉस्टेज
Hello friends, welcome to the webinar. Many people have already started joining. Me along with the agronomist of my team has already joined this webinar. We are waiting for people to join in. It is little bit late than the anticipated, but we'll be starting very shortly. Within a minute or two we'll start our webinar. Many people are joining across the India and there are some international entries as well. And let's start our hydroponic webinar in just a minute. We'll wait for another minute to start our hydroponic webinar. So do hang on, do sign up. Take your notepad, take your pen, take the water bottle and be with us, because this is going to be the most important hydroponic webinar of 2 hours which will happen today. We'll starting in just 1 minute. Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. I'm expecting many people to join us today, and I can see the list is growing continuously. And today on this Friday, we are launching our hydroponic webinar, which is 0 to advanced hydroponic webinar. Many more people joining across the India. I can see the list is continuously growing, and within a minute we'll start with our live webinar. I want to welcome all of you who can made it today to this webinar. On this weekend, you chose hydroponic over everything else. That means you really give very much importance to building your secondary or the primary passive income stream, and you see a bright future into hydroponic domain. The list is continuously increasing, so let's start. Many people have already joined, and without wasting any time, let's start about the hydroponic domain or the understanding about the hydroponic and how you can become a how you can build a actually profitable commercial hydroponic business with help of a basic process, the basic understanding of the system, and most importantly understanding the business aspect of an entire hydroponic domain. So without wasting any time, let's start. I welcome everyone, I welcome all of you. Doesn't matter whether you are a beginner, doesn't matter whether you have a basic farming experience or whether you are advanced farmer. You're doing agriculture from multiple generations, or you are doing agriculture on your own for multiple years, or you are someone who is a hydroponic farm operator. Hydroponic farm operator can be a two sorts. The first sort where you are working in your own farm, where you're operating your own hydroponic farm, or you can be someone who's working at someone else's farm. Like you find your knowledge, you want to understand about the hydroponic business side and how you can take it commercially ahead. I welcome everyone. This webinar, generally we do it into Hindi and English, these two languages, but today we are going to proceed in the English language. So the entire webinar will be covered into English, and there is another webinar which happens into Hindi, but some other day. Today we'll be continuing with the English language. So without wasting any time, let's start with our webinar. Let's understand those secrets which can help you to build a commercially profitable hydroponic farm. Personally, I have visited more than 500 sites across the India, across the multiple states, and I have done the site inspection outside India as well. I have done more than 150 plus hydroponic farm setups across the India worldwide. And one thing I understood, there are some steps or there are some secret formula. If you know that into well advanced, it can help you to build your hydroponic farm, and that hydroponic farm can be much profitable. Generally, whenever we talk about hydroponic farming, or generally when we talk about any business, we know about this notion that it should have a very low capex or a very low initial investment. It should have a good amount of operation compared to the revenue it is generating, then only we can build a hydroponic farm. But when it comes to agriculture business, these two decisions actually can vary a little bit based on your location. To give it a round shape, or to give it a proper thought, understand like this. If your farm is located into Shimla, it might have a different climatic condition versus the farm which is located into Andaman and Nicobar. So if you want to set up a farm into Havelock Island, or you want to set up a farm into Manali, you are dealing with these two different climatic conditions. So the solution which will work for this farm which is into Manali may not work for the farm which is into Havelock, and this changes everything. That's why the secret sauce is knowing about the business firsthand. So for your farm, you will be the right person who can understand everything about the locality, about the climatic condition, and will be able to take the better decision. So today we are going to unbunk that. We are going to understand those secret sauces, and I'll keep everything front and open of you. Nothing will be held back. Every important factor, every important, that small read between the line sentences will be shared with you, and you will be able to take, and all these secrets will be shared with you. So without wasting any time, let's start with me. Why I'm in front of you, why I want to take this webinar, and what credibility do even I have. So I'll start from my journey when I was born. I was born into Mumbai. That time it was called Bombay. I got my initial education up to 12th standard into Mumbai. After my 12th standard, I moved to Bangalore for my engineering. Once I went for the engineering, the life suddenly changed. I got exposed to the new world, and first time in my life, I understood the consumer economy, how people consume things. After finishing my engineering, I got placed into Nokia. Once I started working into Nokia, the again new realm open to me, how people are obtaining things. First time I got introduced with so many food options. After working into Nokia, Sapient and Polaris, AY Digital, I worked into multiple MNCs, and one thought which was constant in my mind, being in the Bangalore, I should have my own startup. And this is how I started my first company, which is a Paxlander. The Paxlander was a very base idea. We used to supply food packaging to the restaurants. So think of it like this: the big restaurants which have a multiple food chains or multiple store locations, they can afford their own packaging. The restaurants or the small shops which are on the roadside, they don't need any kind of a packaging. But the restaurants which are the mid-segment restaurants, they're not too big or they're not too small, maybe one or two location restaurants, they cannot afford their food packaging, and that was the target segment we were working with. So for example, there is a resto cafe, Smalley's Resto Cafe, or there is a small cafe or a 2 or 3 chain cafe which need a burger packaging, and we used to supply that burger packaging to them with their own logo, the branding and everything, and it was an instant hit in the market. Within a span of 1 year, we accumulated more than 200 customers, and the business was booming. But one thing constantly was in my mind, that if any restaurant is spending 2,000 rupees on a packaging, they are spending 20,000 rupees on the raw ingredient. And this is where I started thinking about how can I supply this raw ingredient to the restaurants. After moving multiple locations, meeting multiple people, meeting multiple farmers, I understood one thing. If you want a constant quality ingredient, if you want to supply that constant quality ingredient to the restaurants, we need our own growing. We need our own mechanism. And with that own mechanism, one thing that we need to move ahead of, that was a constant ingredient supply above the climate change, above the climate differences, and most importantly, above the market fluctuation. And this is possible only through CEA. CEA means Control Environment Agriculture. Whenever you roam around, whenever you are roaming in the India, you'll see the poly houses across the highways and all. So that poly houses are nothing but CEA, Protected Cultivation Mechanism. These protected cultivation mechanisms are used in agriculture very widely. And this is where we got the first spark of a hydroponic farming, and we set up our own hydroponic farm, which is based out of Satara. That is story of 2018. Slowly we started expanding across the India. Multiple farmers joined with us. We launched hydroponic masterclass, which as of today, more than 60,000 people have subscribed. We took our idea to the multiple locations. Many people adopted this technology, and we set up more than 150 hydroponic farms across the India. Last year, we also got featured on the Shark Tank India. After crossing multiple CA rounds, multiple iterations, multiple things, we got featured on television, and Piyush Bansal, the founder of a Lenskart, also made us the offer. And this was the entire journey where I started from a small start in Bangalore while supplying the single or 500 or 200 food packaging boxes of a burger boxes, to building a business which is generating revenue into crores, getting featured on the Shark Tank India, building 150 plus hydroponic farm, building community of 60,000 plus people, giving our services not only in India but into Dubai and the Gulf countries as well, building the India's first tech-based hydroponic company, building India's first software-based system where we can identify site inspections, and based on the data we can understand the DPR, which is detailed project report about the profitability of hydroponic farm. We have done all of this, and now this we are bringing in front of you in today's webinar. So this was all about me. So without blabbering too much, let's jump in the next thing, and that is jargons. So when I talk about the jargons, that means whenever we search about hydroponic into Google, or whenever you try to search or know anything about hydroponic, you will be thrown up with so many jargon words. It will be soilless farming, it will be indoor farming, it will be drip system, aeroponics, gardening, deep water culture, Kratky method, grow medium, pH balance, grow beds, seedlings, LED lights, herb farmings, microgreens, climate control, and so many things, EC meter, pH meter, small scale hydroponic, NFT systems. So many jargons will be thrown at you, and it might feel very much overwhelming for the person who is understanding or knowing about hydroponic for the first time. In today's webinar, the entire idea or the entire concept is very much simple. We will bust away all these jargons. We'll make sure that after this webinar, nothing can scare you, or most importantly, you understand meaning of everything. What does exactly what stands for? So, what will be done today? Today, we'll learn the system. Today, we'll learn the process. And most importantly, today, we'll learn the business. When we talk about system, hydroponic can come with a multiple systems in hand. It can come with a multiple processes to run those systems. And when these two things come together, we understand the entire business of a hydroponic. And in today's webinar, we are going to cover all of this today. So let's jump and understand the timeline for the next 2 hours. We haven't started yet. We are still introduction. We are still doing our introduction, and we will be discussing the timeline for today's 2 hours of a webinar. I'm very much happy that you guys could take off your 2 hours for today. And in first hour, we'll be understanding a theory of agriculture. When I talk about the theory of agriculture, the most important part I want to speak is understanding how agriculture evolved, how we came to know about the agriculture and how it has shaped the human society as we see today. After that, we'll be also understanding the theory of hydroponics. Many of people who has joined us today, they are very much first time or a freshers to when it comes to the agriculture domain. So for them, we'll be covering a theory of hydroponics as well. We'll be understanding about the hydroponic systems. When we talk about hydroponic system, I don't just mean the minuscule level of the system, house gardening or something. We'll be understanding the core of hydroponic systems, the NFT pipes, the Dutch bucket, the grow media, grow slabs, how they come together, how they help us to build a commercial hydroponic farm. We'll be not talking about the pots, the gardening pots and everything, the commercial level of hydroponic systems. We will also talk about the prerequisite of a hydroponic farm starting. That means what are the things that should be present on our hydroponic farm before we even jump into hydroponic domain. So we'll be talking about those prerequisites, and we'll be also understanding the site inspection and the farm management aspect of entire hydroponic farming. When I talk about the site inspection, these are the 72 pointer system that can help you to identify whether your site is a perfect to start a hydroponic farming or not. We'll be also understanding a farm management software, how this software can help you to build a profitable hydroponic farm while you can rest at your home and everything can be automated. And this entire farm management experience can help you scale your business, build a passive income, and most importantly, it can give you the complete overview of what is happening at your farm level, at a micro level, and also from the revenue level. So everything will be covered inside. This will be our first hour. After first hour, we'll be taking a 10-minute short break, and immediately we'll start with the second hour. In second hour, we'll be understanding the cost of a project, what it should cost to build a hydroponic farm. We'll be also understanding the plant selection based on your locality, based on the climatic condition, the climatic pattern, the water, the pH, the EC, and various factors. We'll be understanding the plant selection. It can be based on the market which is close by, whether you are near tier 1 city, tier 2 city, or how far is your state highway or the national highway. Based on all these factors, the plant selection comes into the picture. We'll be understanding that secret as well. Now, the most important part is the ROI calculation. When I talk about the ROI, that means the return on investment. If I put 1 rupee today, how much time that it will take to get my 1 rupee back, and against that 1 rupee, how much more 1 rupees I can make out of that setup. That is the ROI calculation, and we'll be understanding how to calculate a true ROI of any hydroponic system. After that, we'll be discussing about the AIF. AIF is an Agri Infrastructure Fund. With AIF, you can build your hydroponic farm at government's money. That means government is giving you subsidy to build your hydroponic farm. We'll also understand loans part as well. The loans means nationalized bank, non-nationalized bank, the NBFCs, they are eager to give you loan if you want to build an agriculture business. We'll be understanding that part. But mostly these banks might ask you for the collateral, and this is where CGTMSE comes into the picture. With CGTMSE, you can get this loan 100% collateral free, and we'll be covering that aspect as well. So when it comes to a funding, to managing the subsidy parts or the collateral part, everything will be covered into that. And after that, we'll be having detailed Q&A session. In this detailed Q&A session, we'll answer every question that you have, and most importantly, we'll make sure that you get the complete knowledge about the hydroponic industry. So without wasting any time, let's jump and understand about hydroponic. And before learning about the hydroponic, we need a technical understanding. So when we talk about the technical understanding, what do I exactly mean? So you can see these are 1 to 24, these are the points, and this 1 to 24 points suffice the entire hydroponic. So if you have a control or the knowledge about this 1 to 24 points, you understand hydroponic completely. Some of us might be students, some of us might be trying to learn hydroponic from the theoretical point of view or the research point of view. For you people, these 24 points are everything about hydroponic. So you have to pay a little bit more attention when we'll be covering that part as well. In future, when we in this webinar, when we talk about hydroponic, all these 24 points will be covered in detail. So let's start and understand first thing, what is a farming or what is agriculture. When I talk about what is agriculture, we are talking about these two words. The first word is agri and the second word is a culture. Agriculture is a Latin word. Agri means field. When you talk about the agri, that means field, and culture means cultivation. So in agriculture, when we say agriculture, we exactly mean is when we are cultivating a field, and that industry or that domain is called an agriculture domain. Agriculture is known to humankind for multiple thousand years. We are doing it, and basically the agriculture is something that helped us to settle down. Before that, we were just hunter and gatherers. So we used to hunt animals, gather things, gather fruits and everything, and used to survive on that. When the first time you got exposed to agriculture, it created the civilization, it created the society, it created the very much fabric of what gives us the existence, and this is agriculture for us. But with agriculture, we had a many more limitation. The biggest limitation of agriculture was one, that was a climate. So when we talk about the agriculture, the main important part was a climate. The second damage or second factor which controlled agriculture for us, that is a pest attack. So understand like this. So slowly how we evolved into multiple crops, how we identified the seeds, the fruits, the flowers and other stems and the grains and everything. At the same time, pests also started identifying them. Pests also understood that it is much easier to feed on these grains, it's much easier to feed on this produce which is just created by the humans rather than going hunting and gathering on their own. And this is how pests got attached to the agriculture, and it is happening for the multiple generations or multiple years. So climate and the pest, these are the two important factors which made agriculture little bit difficult for the humans. But as human society proceed further, we understood many more technology aspect. We control seeds, we control pesticides, we control many factors, and one of that factor was CEA. When we talk about the CEA means control environment agriculture. Whenever we want to control the climatic condition, whenever we want to control the pest attack, whenever we want to control the outside environment to give us protection to our plants, that is called CEA. Generally, CEA is utilized, or CEA is used to give a balanced environment for our crops, so they can grow healthily, they can give us maximum produce, and most importantly, they can complete their life cycle without any stress or without any damage to them. And this was a CEA. So CEA are multiple types of a CEA they are exposed to us, or multiple type of CEA are known to humankind. Most importantly of them is the NVPH. NVPH is a naturally ventilated polyhouse. So when we talk about NVPH, the natural air, the natural cool air can go inside the polyhouse from the bottom side, and on the top there are the vents from where the hot air can go outside. Hot air which is generally a lightweighted air, it can rise up very easily, and from the top vents this hot air can go outside, and once the hot air goes outside, it will create the vacuum inside the polyhouse, and this is how the cold air can go inside. All this mechanism is happening naturally, so we called it NVPH, or the naturally ventilated polyhouse. NVPH is the most used technology across the world. Means out of, let's say, 100 polyhouses, 85 polyhouses will be designed based on the NVPH technology or the NVPH phenomenon. But the remaining 20 means sometimes this flow might not happen naturally. Sometimes the air is not cooling that enough because surrounding air also hot. So that time we need to force the hot air outside, and whatever air is getting inside, we need to cool it manually, or with pressure we want to create this effect. And this is where comes the second technology of CEA, that is fan and pad technology. In fan and pad technology, there are exhaust fan on one side. This exhaust fan will push the hot air outside the polyhouse and that will create a vacuum inside polyhouse. Once the vacuum is created, on opposite side, the cellulose pad will make sure that whatever air is entering inside, this air is a cool. And this is the entire design structure of the fan and pad system. So fan and pad is highly dependent on the locality where we are trying to build this technology or where we are trying to implement this technology. So for example, if you are at the location where temperature is a moderate, humidity is a moderate, you can easily go for the NVPH. But if you are at the location where temperature is a very high, so surrounding air will be also hot, also humidity is a very high, that time you need to go for the fan and pad system. So if everything is a normal, only you want to protect your system from the sudden climatic change or the pest, NVPH is the solution. When temperature is also very high, humidity is very also high, and that time you want to control climatic condition and give protection from the pest, that time you go for the fan and pad system. It is much simpler, and keep one thing in mind. Out of 100 hydroponic farms or 100 CA system, 80 systems will be NVPH. Only 20 system will be fan and pad system. NVPH is a very strong system and it is got perfect over the years. More than 200 years, NVPH is between the humans and it got its perfection after running through multiple temperature cycles, climatic condition cycles, the wind speed cycles and multiple things. NVPH is the proven solution for now. Fan and pad just take that thing one step ahead and forces air outside the polyhouses and brings the cool air inside the polyhouses, but the entire structure and designs still remains the same. So now this is time for the poll. So the question is, before choosing any CA type, what are the early checks I need to do? Or before choosing my CA type, what are the early checks I need to do? Whether you should check for the temperature, whether you check for the humidity, whether you check for the water quality, or whether you should check for the temperature and the humidity. So if you have answered water quality, just a second, if you have answered temperature, humidity or water quality, your answer is wrong. But if you have answered temperature and the humidity, your answer is right. Whenever choosing a CA type, the temperature as well as humidity plays a very important role. As we spoke, temperature, if surrounding temperature is the same, which is outside temperature or the inside temperature, the outside air will not be cool. So that time we need a fan pad system. If the surrounding humidity is a very high, exhaust fan won't be able to push that hot air outside or bring that humidity down. So temperature and humidity are the two aspects which will help us to identify whether I should go for the NVPH or the fan and pad system. Rest of the people, let's move ahead and understand what is a hydroponic. The number is constantly increasing. Many people have joined now and we are at the right spot where we'll be discussing about what exactly is a hydroponic. When we talk about the hydroponic is consist of these two words. The first word is hydro and the second word is a ponics. Hydro means growing our crops with help of water at minimum area and resources to maximize capital gain. This is the most accurate information or the most accurate, we'll say, the line or sentence which can explain hydroponic to us. When we are putting water to the work to get the maximum benefit from the minimal resources spent, that is a hydroponic for us. And this is why hydroponic is changing the way agriculture is being done across the world. Whether you are growing leafy greens, whether you are growing salad items, whether you are growing winery crops, the fruits, the bell peppers and other things, the hydroponic can be the solution which can minimize the input cost and at the same time it will maximize the output production and subsequently it will increase the revenue multifolds. Hydroponics need a very minimal labor investment, it needs a very minimal input cost, it needs a very less water, very less fertilizer, it is done into the protected cultivation, so it needs very less or the almost zero pesticides, no herbicides, no land preparation, no weeding, no control mechanisms, and every aspect of a crop can be controlled with help of a technology. And this is what hydroponic is for the world. Hydroponics will help you build a commercially profitable hydroponic business or commercially profitable agriculture business with one thing in mind, that is very low input cost. and this is hydroponic for you. So when we talk about the hydroponic in further videos, we'll understand what are the aspects of a hydroponics that comes together and gives us power or gives us advantage of building that commercial success. All of you have definitely grown money plant in your home. Definitely you guys have grown money plant into home, and that money plant is the first hydroponic farm or a first hydroponic plant that you must be exposed with, and you all are a hydroponic grower. If you have grown money plant in your home, you definitely know about the hydroponic. What we do exactly when we grow money plant? The money plant will be submerged into the water, and whatever nutrient or whatever fertilizer we have to provide to the plant, we add that into that water. This money plant are exposed to the sunlight where they do their photosynthesis process. The roots take nutrient from the water and the entire crop cycles start working, and this is how the hydroponic start taking place at our home. And when we implement that technology at a large scale, we get a hydroponic farm. The secret of a faster growth is a very simple. Let's say this is our plant. We have to provide sunlight to the plant. We have to provide pest control to the plant. We have to provide support to the plant, and we have to provide nutrients to the plant. If you provide these 4 things to the plant will start growing very rapidly, and this is the secret of growing any plant into agriculture. We have to provide them adequate amount of the sunlight. We have to give them protection from the pest. If we give them support and if we give them nutrients, it will have the different effects on the plant. Let's understand one of them or each of them. So first we talk about the sunlight. Sunlight is very much important when it comes to the photosynthesis. Plant will utilize sunlight and carbon dioxide from the air. It will get the nutrients from the roots and will create their own food. It can be a glucose or it can be sucrose, and this food gets stored into their leaf, stem, fruit, flower, and this is what creates the plants as we know it. Apart from that, the next important factor of a sunlight is the respiration process. That means when in night time, when sunlight is not present, plants will do reverse of that, and this is how plants will strengthen themselves, and this is how plants can become susceptible to the pest attack or the diseases into them. Second benefit or second secret of a faster growth is the pest protection. We have to protect our crop from the different pest attacks. Pest can attack anywhere on the plant. It can attack on the root, it can attack on the stem, it can attack on the leaf, it can attack on the fruit, it can attack on the flower, it can attack anywhere. We have to make sure that we provide that protection to the plant, so if pests are attacking on the plant, we come to know that well in advance and we cure that. So pest protection can be done with 2 mechanisms. The first mechanism is a preventive and the second is a firefighting. When you talk about the preventive mechanism, that means every week we can get the spray of the neem oil on the plants. When we talk about the firefighting, that means when we identify that particular pest has already infested the plant, we need to do some sprays. And this sprays can be organic, it can be synthetic, and it can be choice of these two or a mixture of these two as well. So based on that, we can control our plants from the pest attack. After that, we need to give our plants a support. Now, when we talk about the support, we need this support for the root zone. We have to provide moisture to the root zone. We have to make sure the stem stands strongly so plant get the maximum amount of the sunlight and they are exposed to the natural airflow. So this support plays a very important role when it comes to the providing the complete strength to the plants. And after that, the most important factor, and that is nutrients. Plants absorb nutrient with their roots. It may absorb nutrients through leaves as well from the air, but maximum, let's say 90% absorption of the nutrient happens through the roots. So having a healthy roots, having a proper natural water flow or water stream or the moisture zone around the roots will make sure that plants get the good quality of the nutrients and plants can grow very widely. So basically, the secret of a faster growth of a plant is we have to protect that plants from the outside, and we have to keep on refilling them, keep on giving them nutrient from the inside. Targeted nutrients and the specific micronutrients will make sure that our plants are growing very naturally, very healthily, and they will provide a faster growth cycles to us. And in hydroponics, everything is targeted. Sunlight is targeted, pest is protected, support is given, the nutrients are calculated and given to the plants, and this is what creates a cycle for the plants, or the environment for the plants, where plants can show signs of a very faster growth. So that is why in hydroponic we get up to 30% speed in the plant production, or the speed in the production of in a revenue. Why? Because everything is so much targeted, everything is so much calculated and given to the plant. Plant has no option but rather than enjoying the environment and growing very rapidly. And this is what separates hydroponic from the traditional farming. So now let's take it one step back and talk about the location requirement. So till now we understood what is the agriculture, we also understood what is a hydroponic, and we also understood what is a plant. So after agriculture, hydroponic and the plant, now we are going to talk about where I should set up my hydroponic farm. So first thing, we need to understand about the location requirement, where we can build a commercially profitable hydroponic farm. The first thing we need to talk is a farmland. Hydroponic farm can be set up at any farm location. We can set up our hydroponic farm at any farm location. We can set up a hydroponic farm at any farm location. We need to take care of only three parts. The first part is a proper amount of sunlight is available at that farm site. Second, there is no heavy wind at that particular farm site. And third and most important part, this farm site is free from, let's say, water clogging, or it is free when a rain is happening, the water doesn't accumulate on that particular farm site. If you are able to take these three steps into accommodation or in picture, we will be able to identify 95% accurate farm site for us, and the rest of 5% will be covering into site inspection part. So the most important part of the location requirement is hydroponic can be done at any agricultural farm site or any plot, and it can be also done on any terraces. So when I talk about the terrace, the most important factor is we should get adequate amount of sunlight. If plants are getting sunlight, plant can grow very nicely. So providing them the natural sunlight is the most important factor when it comes to the hydroponic, and secondly, it is most important when it comes to the profitable hydroponic domain or a profitable hydroponic farm. Sometimes people may also think, what if I set up this entire hydroponic farm indoor? If I have a warehouse, if I have a flat, if I have a unit where I can set up my hydroponic farm and provide this sunlight to the plants with help of LED lights. LED lights are non-natural light which makes the sunlight exposure. So they comes with a red light, green light, blue light, yellow light in different light segments or light structure, which will create a sunlight kind of a rays on the plant, and they will mimic the sunlight. The biggest issue in India about LED light is they will always surpass your profit margins. That means running a LED light or running a LED setup cost will consume so much of electricity that it will technically eat up all the profit margins that you might make from your hydroponic farm. So avoid hydroponic farm when it comes to the indoor farming. So hydroponic is much more commercially viable when it is done on the farmland or the terraces, but hydroponic farm will be a loss-making business if you are trying to build it indoor or building it in-house. So avoid hydroponics indoor at any given time or any given for a very base example, I will tell you this. In my last 500 site inspections, we haven't done a single indoor hydroponic farm setup. We haven't done a single hydroponic site inspection which is indoor or which may need a help of LED lights, because we are very much clear that we haven't seen a single hydroponic farm which is profitable and which is indoor. So that is a main factor. So it's time for the poll. Why indoor farming is not profitable in India? The option 1 is in India rents are too high. Option number 2 is cost of operations are too high. Third, government doesn't give permission to set up your indoor farm. And 4, the water cost is too high. Take your time and quickly answer. So if your answer is rent is too high, government doesn't give permissions, and water cost is too high, you still really need to understand indoor hydroponic is a very costly affair when it comes to running in India because of the electricity consumption cost. So cost of operations are too high when it comes to the indoor hydroponic farm. So if you are planning indoor hydroponic farm, stop that thought immediately, because you won't be able to build any profitable hydroponic business when it comes to the indoor farming. So let's jump and understand about the water of hydroponics. So we understand the location of hydroponic, where you should set up your hydroponic farm. Now we'll talk about the water in a hydroponic. The main important factor, it is everything when it comes to the hydroponic. So I say hydroponic is nothing but mastering the art of managing water, because 90% things in hydroponics are directly correlated or connected with the water. You will be dealing with the pH of water, you will be dealing with the EC of the water, you will be dealing with the temperature of the water, and we'll understand them, how you will be dealing with it and how it can help you to build a commercially profitable hydroponic farm. For now, let's understand a very simple thing. Water is the most important part of a hydroponics. To become a best hydroponic grower, you first need to master the art of managing water. And what I mean by managing the water is understanding the pH, EC and the temperature of the water. So let's understand what is the pH of the water. When we talk about the pH of water, it is a potential of hydrogen or the power of hydrogen into the water. Generally we know water is a H2O. That means there is a single O element and there are two hydrogen element. The bond between this H2O, how strong that bond is, that is actually known as the pH of the water. If the bond is a very weak, that means anything can dissolve into the water, and we call the water as the acidic water. If the bond is little strong, we call it as alkaline water, and this is what gives us the most accurate definition of the pH of the water. So generally in India or anywhere in the world, 6 to 8 is also known as the neutral water. Neutral water means that water is good for human consumption. If the water is 6 to 8, we can easily drink it. When it comes to the hydroponic farming, we need a little bit acidic water. We need water between 5 to 6. Why 5 to 6? When the water table shifts in the pH range towards 1, for 7 it goes to 5 or 6, it's become little bit acidic. Little bit acidic means the bond between hydrogen and oxygen is little bit weak, so nutrients can easily dissolve into the water. So for hydroponic, we need water which is little bit acidic compared to the nutrient water, or compared to the neutral water. So the pH of the water in hydroponic will be 5 or 6. If the water pH is above 7, above 8, above 9, that time we need to go for the pH down solution. If the water is more acidic, it is 2, 3 or 4, we need to go for the pH up solution. These solutions are easily available into the market and we can utilize them to control our water. But most importantly in hydroponic, we need to understand is the pH, the base pH of the water, means the water before a treatment which we are getting into the system should have a pH of 5 and maximum it can have a pH of the 7. So before jumping into hydroponic farm construction or a hydroponic farm journey, wherever you are planning a hydroponic farm, get the water report or do the basic water testing and understand what is the current pH of that water at that particular location. This kind of a pH meter is easily available on Amazon or Flipkart. You can immediately go order one pH meter. This pH meter comes in a different ranges. The base pH meter may start from 200 rupees onwards. Get this pH meter and take the reading of the pH before starting your hydroponic farm. And that pH reading, if it is between 5 to 7, that means you have a accurate water which is required for your hydroponic farm. Now we'll take one step ahead and we'll talk about the EC of the water. When we talk about the EC of the water, we are talking about the electric conductivity into the water. So water is a substance or water is a molecule structure where anything can fit in. That means anything can dissolve into the water, not almost all element, but let's say most of the element. Most of the things can dissolve into the water. When these elements get dissolved into the water, it creates impurity between the molecule, and this can help water to pass electricity more rapidly or more frequently, and this is what called as a electric conductivity, EC of the water. Generally EC means electric conductivity, and EC give us idea what are the sediment or what are the different kind of nutrients present into the water. And whenever we are starting our pH or starting our water EC, it should be between 200 ppm to 600 ppm. Again, how to measure it? Very simple. Go on Amazon, you'll get the basic EC meter or basic TDS meter. Get this meter. With this meter you can do the test of the water. If your water reading is between 200 ppm or 600 ppm, you have a good quality water to utilize for the hydroponic farm. Now many times we read this word, the EC of the water, the TDS of the water, or the ppm of the water. Now let's understand what is the relation between them. So if I want to say there is a 2 kilometer long road which is made up of the tar, and this is the same relation between the EC, TDS and ppm. So when I say the water TDS is 500 ppm, that means 500 is my TDS, ppm is the ppm means the measuring scale in which I can measure the electric conductivity of the water, and this entirely gives me a EC of the water. So 500 ppm is my EC and TDS is how many dissolved solids I have, and this is how the EC of the water is calculated. So calculating EC of the water is kind of a everyday task when you run a hydroponic farm, but it is more important before even starting your hydroponic journey to understand the base EC of the water. Now let's understand the temperature of the water. Water temperature also plays a very crucial role. The base temperature or the starting temperature of the water into your region should not below 5 degrees Celsius, or it should not be more than 25 degrees Celsius. So if your water is below 5 degrees Celsius, one process starts which is called crystallization, means the ice formation will start into the water. It may damage root zone. If your water temperature is above 25 degrees Celsius for the longer period, it will have an adverse effect on the root, it will damage the roots. So the water range should be 5 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. If at your location water temperature rises very quickly, you can opt in for the underground tank mechanism. With underground tank mechanism, you can cool down water by up to 10 degrees Celsius very easily. So if your temperature of the water is between 5 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius, nothing to worry, you are good, you can easily utilize that water. But if the water temperature is above 25 degrees Celsius, you need to go underwater to store that water. In that, by storing the water underground, you can easily drop down the temperature by 10 degrees Celsius. If the water temperature is below 5 degrees Celsius, that time we might need to avoid that water, or we need to find a sources where we can rise up little bit temperature of the water. And this is the most important aspect when it comes to the temperature of the water. Now it is a poll time. Why we should not use hot water for farming? This is the question and I want answer from you. So let's say the first answer is fertilizers will not mix perfectly when the water is hot. Second, it can damage the roots of a plant. Third, hot water will reduce the life of the system. And fourth, hot water will stop plants from having fruits. And the answer is it will damage the root of a plant. If the water temperature is a little bit high or more than 25 degrees Celsius, the root zone, which is a very narrow root zone and which is a very delicate root zone, it will get damaged very quickly. And that is why we should have an adequate temperature when it comes to the water source. So your water source or water temperature should be between 5 degrees Celsius and 25 degrees Celsius. So without wasting any time, let's jump and understand the climatic requirement. So when we talk about the climatic requirement, the most important factor that we need to understand is the temperature. If the surrounding temperature is, let's say anything can be a temperature when it comes to the surrounding temperature, and before building a NVPH or the fan pad system or any hydroponic or a CEA system, temperature and humidity will play a very crucial role. Let's say we'll jump out on the temperature control or the climate temperature. If your temperature is 0 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius, you can easily opt in for the NVPH. No problem, no issues, easily you can go for the NVPH. Most of the cases, most in India, more than 90% location will have this kind of a temperature. NVPH is the solution for you. if your temperature is above 45 degrees Celsius and it can go up to 50 degrees Celsius for the most of the time, you should always go for the fan and pad system. If the temperature is very high and it keeps on higher side, then fan and pad system is your solution. But sometimes at most of the places, the temperature is between 0 to 38 degrees Celsius. Sometimes the temperature goes from 38 to 45, but it is for a very short duration. That time we can go for the NVPS system and we can borrow exhaust system from the fan and pad systems. That means NVPH with exhaust fan will help us to build a commercially profitable hydroponic system without spending bomb on the technology. That means with minimal investment, with NVPH and the exhaust fans, we can create a system that will help us into creating a proper ecosystem or the environment for our plant, even if the temperature goes above or near 45 degrees Celsius. So temperature plays a very important role when it comes to the hydroponic farming, and this is the important factor that we need to keep in mind. Now let's talk about the climatic humidity. So when it comes to the climatic humidity, we need to understand two aspects. If the climatic humidity is between the 45% to 90%, that is the perfect location for a hydroponic farm. If the climatic humidity is above 90%, that means there is a huge rainfall into that region or the humidity is certainly very high, that spot should completely avoid. Because even if you set up a hydroponic farm at that region, the crops will be constantly at the risk of a fungal infection, the pest attacks, and most importantly, fan and pad system and exhaust fan will not give any result because outside humidity is very high. So exhaust fan won't be able to push that air outside and still maintain that linear humidity inside the poly house. So that is why if the humidity is above 90%, avoid that spots altogether. If humidity is below 45%, that time we need to go for the fogger installation, or the air climate will be very dry, and for that we need to install a fogger system when the humidity is very low. If you are setting up an indoor hydroponic farm, let's say I'm not talking about the commercial scale, commercial I don't support, but if you are setting up an indoor hydroponic farm, that time you can use dehumidifier or humidifier, which are required to control this humidity aspect when it comes to the indoor hydroponic farm. Dehumidifier and humidifier are easily available into the market, you can deploy them, but running them at a commercial scale can be very costly and eat up your profit margin. But for a hobby farm, if you are doing at a very small scale, dehumidifier and a humidifier can be easily utilized, and this can give you the complete control over the humidity. So that was all about the humidity when it comes to the controlling climate, controlling temperature and the humidity. Now there is one more aspect, that is wind. Let's talk about the wind part. So up to 135 km per hour, nothing will happen to the poly house into this wind speed. So this poly houses and the CEA structure are very much proven when it comes to the heavy wind. But what if you are at the region where the wind can go much higher than that? For that, there is a simple solution that need to be implemented. Let's say this is our poly house and we can experience, let's say this is the north side, and we can experience heavy wind from any side. We can give a distance of 10 feet and do a bamboo plantation across the four sides. The bamboo will disperse of the wind very rapidly and will create a zone for the plants where it can have access to the cool breezing air, and at the same time it can avoid the wind completely. Where we have our demo farm, which is into Satara, there you can see a complete four sides are covered with a bamboo plantation, and this bamboo plantation has saved our system, CA system, in a cyclone-like condition as well. So heavy wind can be immediately dispersed off with the help of a bamboo farming nearest around 10 feet distance from the poly house or the CEA setup. So choose that very wisely if you are at the region where winds are very high. Now let's understand about the type of a hydroponic system. We spoke about the hydroponic. Hydroponic is the domain, or hydroponic is the system where we can invest very little when it comes to the input cost and maximize benefit when it comes to the output revenue. So in that we have two hydroponic systems. The first hydroponic system is a closed loop hydroponic system, and the second one is an open loop hydroponic system. Now let's talk about the closed loop hydroponic system. Whenever I am giving water to a particular plant, this plant is taking the maximum amount of the water which is required to them. Then the excess water is again taken back to the reservoir tank, and from reservoir tank, next time whenever the same plants need a water, this water is made available to it. And this system is called the closed loop system. That means the excess water is stored into the reservoir tank, and this excess water is again given back to the plant whenever the plant needs it. Now against that we have the open loop system. Now what happens into the open loop system? Open loop system is the traditional farming as we know it. Whatever water is given to the plants, this is completely given. There is a no recollection mechanism. So it can be utilized into drip irrigation, it can be utilized into flood and drain systems. So in general agriculture, whatever water is given to the plants can have access to all the water. It might or may not consume entirely water, but the water cannot be recollected or water cannot be retained back. That is called the open loop system. In a hydroponic, we have only one open loop system hydroponic, and that is a grow bag system. Apart from that, all other hydroponic systems are worked on the closed loop hydroponic system. So let's understand the most profitable hydroponic system, and based out of that, if it comes to the open loop system or the closed loop system, we have seen that apart from the grow bag, all other systems are the closed loop systems, and most of them are the most profitable hydroponic system. But when it comes to the India, only top 4 part. When it comes to the India, only top 4 part are the most profitable. The first one is a NFT A-frame, the second is NFT flatbed, the third is drip grow bags, and fourth is a drip Dutch bucket. So let's understand them one by one and why they are profitable. And when it comes to the deep water culture, when it comes to the EBBN flow, when it comes to the aeroponic or the aero tower, what is that aspect that make them a non-profitable hydroponic venture for the hydroponic farmers? So let's understand NFT A-frame. NFT A-frame, they look like a A kind of a structure, and it helps us to build a vertical hydroponic system. With NFT A-frame, water can be closed loop. That means whatever water is given to the pipe, it is again recollected, reutilized, and the excess water is again given to the pipes. And by that, we can save on the water, we can save on the fertilizer, we can save on the nutrients, we can utilize the same water again and again and again, and plants can give us the maximum growth. Being vertical into the nature, we can get maximum output from the smallest land parcel available. The plants are designed or placed in such a way that it gets maximum sunlight exposure, making hydroponic A-frame as the most profitable version of a hydroponic farming or NFT farming. The second is a NFT flatbed. So when we talk about the flatbed, so the pipes or the plants are placed next to each other in such a way that managing them is a very easy, maintaining them is a very easy. The plant, it is very easy to observe, take actions, and most importantly, do the seedlings, do the harvest, and everything can be done with a with a people, kind elderly people, or the, let's say, if it is an old person, he might not be able to manage their hydroponic farm if it is placed vertically into the A-frame. But that person can easily manage farm which is placed on the hip level, and that is a flatbed farming. Flatbed farming is a maintenance free farming. In an A-frame, we might need people who are a little bit more skilled when it comes to the hydroponic farming. But in flatbed, we don't need any kind of a skills, and this gives us the complete control over hydroponic farm by spending very minimal on the labors, or by spending with the help of any available person, the hydroponic farming can be done. Apart from all other aspect or other technologies remains the same. The water is given to the plant at the root zone, the excess water is again recollected into the reservoir tank, new water source or again that collected water can be re-given to the plants, and the cycle keeps on happening again and again and again into the loop. Now let's talk about the drip grow bag system. When it comes to the drip grow bag system, the only system which is a closed open loop system. That means whatever water is given to this grow bag, it is not recollected. This water get dispersed off if there is additional water into the, additional water is given to the grow bags. This is the only system where hydroponic doesn't save much on the water, but it is most suitable system when it comes to the soilless farming, and it is most suitable system when it comes to the vinery plant growing. So grow bag has made its way into hydroponic domain by being or by under the tag of a soilless farming, where we are using coco peat to produce our crops, and it uses water to get the nutrients from it. So based on these two principles, first being a soilless farming in a nature, and second acquiring nutrients from the water, drip grow bag has made its way into the hydroponic domain. Drip grow bags are the most commercially viable hydroponic option when it comes to the vinery plant growing. The next one is a drip Dutch bag. This is a fourth system. Let's say if we want to grow a vinery crop but we don't have access to the much water, that time we opt in for the drip Dutch bucket. In the Dutch bucket, whatever water is given to the Dutch bucket, the additional water is recollected back. Again, the same water is made available to the same Dutch bucket over and over again and again. Dutch bucket is little bit costly when it comes to the drip grow bag, but it can save very widely when it comes to the water solving or the managing fertilizer or getting the maximum output for your plants. Now let's talk about the deep water culture. Deep water culture, you must be seen on the YouTube or the seen in the Google images where the big floats, the big white floats are floated into the water where the small plants are being grown inside. This is deep water culture. The big pond is created where the water is put in, the water fertilizer are added, and the nutrients are provided to the root zone via floating raft, and this is the deep water culture. Deep water culture is done at the location where sunlight penetration is very less and also a sunlight duration is very less. Apart from that, deep water culture doesn't provide us any benefit. So in India, we don't need deep water culture because it can consume a way too much space, it can consume way too much water, and it actually a useless system when it comes to the direct comparison between the flatbed system and the deep water culture. It gives us the same output but at much inflated cost. So that is why deep water culture is not suitable option when it comes to the Indian agriculture or the Indian hydroponic. Again, EBBN flow. EBBN flow is again useless system for the India for a very basic reason. Again and again we have to add water into the trough or we have to flood that water, and after flooding is done, again we drain by that water. This operation is done multiple times and actually it doesn't provide us any advantage. It is a high-tech technology or some kind of a modern technology which doesn't have any space in India. In India, NFT can give us the same result at much lesser operation cost, at much lesser water, and at much lesser electronics items which are required to run a EBBN flow system. So that was the second example of things what cannot run in India, or things or EBBN flow systems why it cannot be profitable in a hydroponic domain in India. Now let's talk about the aeroponics. Aeroponics is also a system which is widely used by labs to understand the seed structure, the root structure of the plant. Commercially, aeroponics doesn't make any sense. How does exactly aeroponics work? This is an aero tower. Inside there is a misting chamber which will constantly mist a water on the root zone of the plants. And the biggest issue lies there. Even if for the 5 minutes we have electricity failure, all plants root will die off very easily, very rapidly, and most importantly, with this 5-minute gap we can lose the entire crop which we have spent 6 and 7 months to grow upon. And aeroponics makes it a very risky business when it's come to the agriculture, and especially when it comes to the hydroponic. And that was the core reason why aeroponics never took off into the Indian agriculture domain or Indian hydroponic domain. Now let's talk about the aero tower. So people got little bit smart. People understood that misting of the water is not possible because electricity failure may eat up all the profit margins or may put us at risk where we lose all the crops, and people came up with the aero tower. Aero tower, when the water is dripped slowly on the plants in such a way that roots get access to the water. This is an NFT system but placed vertically. This is an aero tower for people. But again, aero tower has its own limitation, and the limitations are the shadow zone. Can you see the shadow zone? The shadow zone which is created by the aero tower. Aero tower can create a very wide shadow, and it can create a shadow of 3/4 of its heights, and this is what utilizes lot of space, giving us a very less space to grow our plant, and this is the biggest limitation of the aero tower. So to understand it perfectly. Let's say my aero tower is at 12 feet in height. So 12 feet long aero tower will create a 9 feet of a shadow zone across the side or across the semicircle of the placement. So I cannot place any other aero tower in the 9 feet area apart from my aero tower. So it wastes a lot of a space when it comes to the actual dense farming, and that is why aero tower couldn't take off when it comes to the agriculture domain or a hydroponic domain in India. So now let's understand about the timer and the automation. Timer and automation is also a very important factor or very important part when it comes to the agricultural farming or hydroponic farming. If your farm size is below 1 acre and you are managing from 1 to 5 crops, timer is the solution that you need to run your hydroponic farm. But if you are managing above 1 acre and more than 5 crops, then you need automation system. This automation system can work very nicely or can be clubbed with any farm management software system which is provided by the Kryzen, or automation system can very much easily help us to manage your crops at a very large scale. Timer systems can make your work very easy. It can help us to manage your day-to-day operations, automate them in such a way that it doesn't create a lot of mental bandwidth requirement, and easily any labor, the less educated person, can also manage your hydroponic farm. And this was the timer or a hydroponic system or the automation in a hydroponic system. Now with this, we have almost spent our 1 hour into understanding the theoretical aspect of a hydroponic, the automation part, the entire hydroponic domain in a theoretical aspect. Now we'll be taking a small 10 minutes break, and after the break we'll be start discussing the business side of a hydroponic, the commercial aspect, the cost, the ROI, the AIF, the loans and everything. So guys, let's take a small 10 minutes break. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome back after the break, and now we are going to understand about the business side of a hydroponic. Many of the people are still joining back. I think in this break many of people are grabbing water or grabbing their notes back, and let's start with understanding the business domain of a hydroponic. So when I started my hydroponic journey, one thing was I was little bit unsure about, am I really doing the right thing, or am I in the love of my own idea? It might happen with multiple people. For example, if we spend so much of a time on something, we slowly start taking it as the ultimate truth. And is that the same thing happening with me? To understand that, we did a small experiment. What we did is, so for 13,500 crops of the basil, we needed a 5,000 square feet of a hydroponic farm, and we needed almost a 1 acre of a traditional farm. So the number of the plants, which is a constant, which is 13,500, and we decided to grow a traditional farm and a hydroponic farm next to each other. We did this experiment into the COVID time, which is into 2020, and the idea was very simple, that we want to understand what are the real benefit we get from hydroponic farming, what are those tangible benefits that we get from the hydroponic farming, and it can be a really profitable hydroponic business, a really profitable agriculture business when we compare that with the traditional farming. And the results or the observations that we did were like mind-boggling, they were astounding. So now let's discuss one of them, or each of them. The area was just 5,000 square feet when it comes to the traditional hydroponic farm, or the hydroponic farm which we created. And in traditional farming, the area was almost 4,300 square feet. That means the area is almost 1 acre area. And with that 1 acre area, the biggest advantage or the biggest disadvantage on the traditional farming and the advantage on a hydroponic farm was the water usage. In a hydroponic farming, we are using 12,000 liter water, and in traditional farming, we are using 3 lakhs liter of the water. The water usage in traditional farming was way beyond the calculations. It was 24 times more water which is required in the traditional farming. The fertilizer in a hydroponic farm was just 35 kg, and the fertilizer in a traditional farming was way high. It was a 240 kg. Roughly we spent 21,000 rupees on just fertilizer when it comes to the traditional farming. And we are talking about the basil crop. We are talking about 13,500 crop over the cycle of the 6 months here. Workers, when it came to the managing hydroponic farm, one person was sufficient enough. The 90% time he used to just observe if everything is going right, and 10% time he has to harvest, pack and send it to the market. So the task was very minuscule when it came to the hydroponic farm. But in traditional farming, we needed 3 laborers or 3 workers, and every day was a new day for them, because today used to understand what we should do tomorrow. If today any new pest is identified, tomorrow take that spray. If today any new disease is identified, tomorrow take that spray. If today something is happening with our crop, tomorrow go and fix that. So every day used to dictate what will happen tomorrow. So 3 laborers were managing the traditional farm. The land preparation cost when it came to the hydroponic farming was almost zero. No negligible amount was spent when it came to the land preparation cost. As soon as we took out the previous harvest, we planted new seed on that spot, and it created a zero deficit when it came to the input cost of a land preparation. And in traditional farming, we spent 12,000 rupees on the land preparation into plowing and other things before even we put our seed into the ground. So the cost of a land preparation was way higher in a traditional farming compared to the hydroponic farming. The production. The basil production in hydroponic farming was across the year, the best basil production we got in the year. But in traditional farming, as soon as the rain started, the basil production dropped significantly. As soon as the winter started, we started noticing the black spots on the leaves, and the price got very down because the grading was not proper. So when it came to the hydroponic farming, the seasonality issue was out of the picture. We are able to get the proper production throughout the year. The nutrient value in the basil was very high when it came to the hydroponic farming, because everything was locked in the leaves. When it comes to traditional farming, the nutrient value was very less compared to the hydroponic farming. The automation was possible the entire farm was technically running on the timers, and getting pH and EC readings was based on the automation part. So running a hydroponic farm on automation was much easier. In traditional farming, we had one automation. We used to able to on and off the motor with help of a mobile timer or a mobile keypad. So that was the only automation we could do into the traditional farming. When it came to the location, hydroponic farm can be set up on any farm. It can be set up at any urban location. It can be done at any terrace. But traditional farming can be done only on the farmland where the soil quality is a very good, or the humus level in the soil is a very high. When it came to the climate dependency, hydroponic farm had a zero climatic dependency. Doesn't matter what is the climate outside. If it is summer outside, winter outside, or the rainy outside, inside there was an equilibrium of an ecosystem for the every crops that is growing inside. So hydroponic farming was a zero climate dependent when it comes to the managing of the farm. In traditional farm, again the same issue. Everything was highly dependent on the climate. If there is a sudden change into the climate, we had a risk of losing entire crop. So climate dependency in a traditional farm was a very high. Now comes the most important part, and that is a grading or the quality. In a hydroponic farm, we used to get the constant grading, the constant quality of the system. But in traditional farming, the product of today will not match the produce of tomorrow. So every day you used to get the different quality altogether. So getting that proper grading into the market was much difficult. We are not able to sign that contracts or commit to someone that okay, I'll be supplying the good quality products to you every day. And when it comes to the pest control, in a hydroponic farm, there was no pest control. Yes, there was a preventive mechanism. We used to spray neem oil, but pest control mechanism was none. There was a zero firefighting. In traditional farming, every day was a firefighting. Every day used to identify something new pest, and we used to take sprays on that. We spent almost 2 times of the money which we invested in the first cycle or before seed preparation. Let's take 12,000 if we spend on the land preparation, we almost spent 24,000 on the different pest control mechanisms. So when it comes to the pricing, the hydroponic farm, the hydroponic produce literally gave us a premium pricing when it went to the market. In traditional farming, we were not even able to get the grade A pricing into the market. And maintaining hydroponic farm was much more easy because there was almost zero maintenance cost. The labor has to observe everything, and it had plenty of time to make that small tweaks if needed. In traditional farming, the maintenance cost was very high. We are using drip system, we are using different water channeling system, so everything needed a lot of maintenance, and it was a kind of a chaos when it came to the managing traditional farming. Now when it comes to the ecological effect, that means the excess water, the excess fertilizer, the pest control and everything, ecological effect was a very less when it came to the hydroponic farm, but when it came to the traditional farming, it was a very high. So for example, to give you a little bit clear picture, to run a traditional farm, we almost used 700 kilos of different kind of fertilizers, the drip systems, the plastic pipes, the mulching paper and everything, and it actually contaminated the soil, it actually contaminated water source, it actually contaminated the ecosystem or the environment in surrounding. But in hydroponic farm, the footfall, the carbon footprint was a very small. Firstly, we were limited into 5,000 square feet. Secondly, everything was controlled, and most importantly, there were no spray, no chemical sprays, no synthetic fertilizers had been used. So everything has a very low ecological effect. And when it comes to the pollution effect, in a hydroponic farm, we had a zero pollution. In traditional farming, we were dealing with a very high pollution because whatever water we are giving to the plant, it was getting run off. For example, if I give 1 liter water to the plant can consume only 100 ml of that. 900 ml water will go to the water source, it will go to the water aquifer, it will go to the river, and this is how it will create a water pollution into the system. So after this experiment, one thing that we clearly understood, that a hydroponic farm stand out very clearly compared to the traditional farming. So traditional farming, although it has been adopted by most of the people, hydroponic farming is a clear win when it comes to the managing the better ecosystem, managing the better climatic conditions and managing the better plants. Now, After this business domain or business understanding of a hydroponic farming, now let's jump and understand the site inspection part and also understand the farm management in a hydroponic domain. So let's jump onto our computer screen and understand how site inspection is done or how hydroponic farm management is done. So when we log into alpha.horizon.com, we get to see a different infrastructure, a different system where we can do our site inspection, we can do the farm management, we can also do the buyers connect part, and we can also get the access to agronomy support. So let's go one by one and understand how this entire ecosystem comes into play for building a commercial profitable hydroponic farm. Let's start with the site inspection. This site inspection is a 72 pointer system that gives you much more clearer idea when it comes to constructing your hydroponic farm. It kind of takes every aspect, every domain into the picture and understand what are those parameters that can help you to build a commercial profitable hydroponic farm. Let's start with my own thing. We are doing this for the test purposes, so we'll be taking a test into picture. Let's say the name, date of birth, highest qualification, current profession, experience with farming, caste and gender, all this data is fed into the system. Then we'll be taking the application type, the individual or the business, the city where we are located, the state we are planning, the pin code, whether we are at what location we are doing the site inspection, whether it's a farmland, village, district or the city, whether the location is a rural, semi-urban district or the urban, type of the site, the longitude and the latitude of the site, tentative start date, and apart from that, the most important part is the soil type. What are the soil types available to us, the total available area available to us, apart from that the land labeling, the natural slope of the land, land ownership, whether the land has a trees, ponds, mud patches or the hillocks, all this information, what is available or what are things on the north side, the east side, south side or the west side, whether we have any obstacle towards sky, whether we have what are the measurements when it comes to the north-south measurements, east-west measurement, the layout, the land fencing, and most importantly the water sources. What are the water source which is available to us? Apart from that water source, what is the water capacity that is available to us, water availability frequency, the position of the water tank, the pH reading and the EC reading, the base pH reading and the base EC reading. After that, we talk about the entry to the farm site and also the lux of a sunlight. What is the sunlight lux available to us? After that, we will be talking about the temperature, the humidity, the local climatic hottest month and the local climatic coldest month. This is utilized to cross verify with the information which is being collected by us and also the API data which is we getting from the different API sources. To match that with the local knowledge, we get this data. After that, we also take what are the facilities available to make sure that we are able to construct the farm very adequately, and apart from that, managing hydroponic farm is much simpler. We also understand about the transport options, the how far is the nearest tar road, the regular mode of transportation, the vehicle availability, and apart from that the nearest hardware shop, nearest hospital, nearest stay facility, nearest bus stand, nearest railway station, airport, tier 1 city, tier 2 city, their distance, electric connections, the meter type, the meter phase, outage frequency, unit price, pricing, the usage and the internet connectivity, and what is the average labor salary at that location, the monthly lease amount at that location, government support, the loan facilities available, the primary loan bank, the bank loans IFSC course, the secondary banks and the description videos. And based with all this information, we create a detailed DPR which gives us more power of understanding how to build a commercially profitable hydroponic farm at that particular location, whether that hydroponic farm is suitable for us or not. After this video or after this demo, we'll be also understanding about the DPR, but before that, let's jump into understanding a farm management software. The first farm management software you can see, we have a nursery management system. In nursery management system, we can manage our nursery much easily at much ease, and the most importantly, we don't have to do any data feeding when it comes to the nursery management. All data feeding can be done with the help of a simple click systems, we will be getting the complete schedule, and only thing we need to do is manage that schedule. For example, let's say if we see that for this plant, we can see every day when the watering needs to be done, when fertilizer needs to be done, when any particular comment is being added by the agronomist, the neem oil spray, the fertilizer, everything is a schedule which is created for that particular location, and that gives an immense level of power to manage our nursery management system. Apart from that, we have a farm management system as well. If you onboard any automation from the Kaizen, this automation system can come here and it can help you to manage your hydroponic farm. So let's understand the water management system. If we have a different water systems, we can create a different water cycles for different types of the system. We have a starting EC, starting pH. We can also add the water source type, the type of the system, and it will give us a complete detailed system or complete detailed guidelines to manage or control our water. This can give a more power to you when it comes to the managing the water sources or managing the water quality at your farm. Then we have a harvest management, we have a crop management, and the most importantly, we have a nutrient management system. Managing nutrient hydroponic may feel a daunting task because it needs a lot of expertise to calculate this nutrient, and we have automated that entire process for you. For example, you can see here there is a calcium nitrate, then we have a NPK 19-19-19, NPK 13-0-45, Epsom salt, and micronutrients. This nutrient table is designed for your location based on the water report which we received during the site inspection. Now, after taking this reading, the most important factor that you need to add to calculate your nutrient is the mother tank capacity. Let's say if your mother tank capacity is 10,000 liter, I'll just add 10,000 here. And the type of system is vegetative. As soon as I press calculate, it will calculate how much nutrient or fertilizers I need to add and in which tank I need to add that. Calcium nitrate, how many kgs, in which tank I need to add that. NPK 19-19-19, how many kgs, in which tank I need to add that. So based on that, we can get the complete understanding or the complete information about the nutrient planning when it comes to the hydroponic. Now comes the next important part, and that is a buyer's connect. In a buyer's connect, we have a price watcher. This price watcher will give us a pricing of a different commodity, and it will give us the pricing from the last 3 years. Let's say why we are taking 3 years, that is again most important part. Before 3 years, the prices were haywire because COVID was here. So we started calculating pricing from the last 3 years, and based on the 3 years, as we increase our sources of collecting prices, the more price fluctuation we started getting. And based on this pricing, we are able to identify the trend of a price. We are not understanding, we are not trying to calculate the price, but we are trying to calculate the trend. Whether this particular commodity will go up higher in the market in upcoming months, or will it go lower in upcoming months. Now, based on this trend information, we can identify which crop to grow currently or which crop to grow right now that can give us a maximum benefit from coming to the market. So this is a price trend which can help us into identifying the upcoming price trends into the market, and we are doing it for multiple commodities across the market, across the locations. Now this price watcher is straightforward created for your location, which is taken during the site inspection part. And after the price watcher, the next thing comes is a buyer's management. The buyer's management will be available to you once your farm has been deployed. Once the farm deployment is happened, the buyers, you can connect with the buyers directly and get access to that community, that smallest community, which can have a much more detailed crop supply to these buyers, which is grown hydroponically, completely hydroponically. We'll understand that into details when we explore the full straight farm. And now the most important part is an agronomy wiki. So in agronomy wiki, we have all this plant. To manage all these different plants, there will be some weekly tasks, some daily tasks, some monthly tasks will be there, and these are pointed out very much clearly. Also, if there is any pest attack or a disease attack, something happens on the plant, we can exactly get what to do in that condition. Let's say downy mildew or any issue happens on the plant. exactly we know what to do in that particular conditions, how to manage that, how to help our plants into recovery that. Now all this information is available into multiple languages, so there is a no language barrier, so you can take up any language and still access this entire portal to get maximum benefit from your hydroponic farm. So this was the agronomy wiki. Apart from that, we have also added assets and the inventory that will help you into managing your asset which is deployed at your farm location, and you can also understand the inventory that are deployed at your farm location, what inventory stack is available, what is already been utilized. All this information can be tracked very easily at your hydroponic farm. So now let's understand most important part is the cost parameter when it comes to the hydroponic farming. Now we'll be logging into our super admin account to understand what are the DPR systems and how the site inspection can help us into getting that proper DPR to identify the feasibility of your location. Now let's go on the screen. As you see on the screen, this is a site inspection and I'm accessing it from my super admin account. So after filling up all this information, I can generate a PDF. Now this PDF will give me a detailed information about the site inspection which is done at that location, and based on that location site inspection, I can get access to the multiple data sets. Now I can get access to the maximum temperature throughout the year, the minimum temperature, the daylight duration, the sunlight duration, wind speed, rain sum, relative humidity, and facilities available on the site. What is the dimension of polyhouse is a suitable as per aerodynamics nature at that particular location. After that, I also get what are the plants that I can grow at that particular location according to the climatic conditions available at that particular crops. Number of plants, the monthly harvest, the minimum pricing and the maximum pricing. We are taking this pricing from the price watcher. We also get the minimum revenue, maximum revenue and the average revenue, how much money that can be made from that particular hydroponic farm. After this details, we also get this is a quotation which is generated for that particular site inspection, how much money that we are looking to spend on that hydroponic farm to build it a commercially viable successful part. And this is the most important part. We understand the capacity utilization, we understand the projected P&L, we understand the cash flow statement, and we also understand the break even. If the break even is taking way longer than anticipated, then this hydroponic farm is suitable or not suitable for our crop. I'll rephrase my sentence. If the break even is taking more than 3 years, that particular location is not suitable for a hydroponic farming. For example, this particular location is taking more than 3 years, almost 2.5 years to break even. When the hydroponic location takes 2.5 years to break even, that means it's almost taking 5 years to double your money. So that means with added operation cost and all these things, in future issues which are coming, and according to all this putting into the same picture, this location might not be the suitable for hydroponic farming. What we have understood over the year is if your break even happens in a less than 1.5 year, that is the spot which is suitable for a hydroponic farming. Means with the market forces and the investment which is done, if the break even period is 1.5 year, that is the most suitable location. At this condition, this farm location is not suitable for hydroponic farming, and all this calculation is purely and purely based on the data. There is no human intervention, and complete calculation is done based on the data, and this is what the DPR can help you to identify whether that location, the location where you are planning your hydroponic farm, is suitable or not. Now after site inspection, the next most important part comes the price watcher. I was talking about the buyers management network. So this is a buyers management network which is available across the India. You can select as per your state, and once you select as per your state, you'll get access to all the buyers. So now here most important part comes is the rating of the system. This is how the entire community can keep on rating the buyer, and if the buyer rating goes below 3, we remove him out of the system. So this is a classified system, but much more accurate system which is verified by multiple people who are into the ecosystem. So this is how these buyers keep on filtering the buyers, and now we have a 3000 super targeted buyers that can help you to sell your produce very easily. But this is when you have a very small scale project. When you have a large scale project, then we go for the contract buying. These are the buyers we have extended their contract to Kryzon or to the people of a Kryzon or the community of a Kryzon, where you can sell that particular commodity for a longer period. We call it as a LTCs, long term contract. This buyer has given their agreement as well. If you agree with their agreement, you can get in touch with them and start supplying these commodities to them at a wider space or the wider duration and get into the real time contract based farming. And this is all about the entire hydroponic system or the cost of a hydroponic system. Now, when we talk about 10,000 square feet or a 1008 square meter, now let's understand how it actually works out. We'll start with a 5,000 square feet, let's say. 5,000 square feet will cost 17 lakh rupees to start with. When we started our hydroponic journey, in 2018, it costed us 15 lakh rupees. And after 18 to 19, 19 to 20, 20 to 21, 20 to 22 to 23 and 24 and now in 25, the cost has increased only by 2 lakhs because now we are doing the same project at much bigger scale. All the vendors, all the manufacturers and everything when comes into the picture, we are ordering at a very large scale. 80% things are manufactured in-house, 20% things are procured from a bigger vendor, and now we are directly procuring from the manufacturers. That gives us much more advantage when it comes to the cost calculation. So technically we are beating the inflation and getting the same project at much lower cost. Now on 5,000 square feet, if the cost is 17 lakh rupees, so when it goes to the 10,000 square feet, the cost doesn't double up. The cost increases and it becomes 30 lakh rupees. So when you're talking 30 lakh rupees, that means the element, the roughly 4 lakh difference is there, and this 4 lakh difference is of the elements which are constant. Whether you go for a 5,000 square feet farm, 10,000 square feet farm, 20,000 square feet farm or a 1 acre farm, some elements, the water treatment system, the UV light system, the timer system, everything, it remains unchanged. And that is why as you're growing, the cost doesn't grow exponentially, the cost always keeps into the check. And this is how the cost of a hydroponic project can be mitigated or can be simplified much easily. So first thing, we are beating inflation because when you deal with a Kryzon, the most important part we do at a very large scale. Where India's fastest growing company has done most number of hydroponic farm on monthly basis, we do on an average 8 to 9 hydroponic farms, and that gives us advantage or a power to source everything at a very bulk and at a very very cheaper price at the very best quality level. So this is all about the cost of a project and getting the DPR of the project. Now let's understand about the Agri Infrastructure Fund, what exactly it is and what help government is extending to you. So when it comes to the hydroponic domain, government has launched Agri Infrastructure Fund, or in short it is known as AIF. AIF stands for giving a collateral free subsidy on the loan interest loan. That means what? For example, whenever you approach any particular bank may give you loan at 9% rate of interest. What government does is, government will give us subsidy of 3% into that rate of interest. So your effective rate of interest will be just 6%. This fund will be allocated from the government, so you don't have to worry about the banks for denying your loan. And AIF application is entirely managed by the Kryzon, will be helping you to get the AIF approval if your project DPR is positive. So we can get the complete AIF detailing done and you can get the loan at 6% rate of interest. Now that is better than the inflation rate. The inflation is increasing at much higher cost and you can avail that money at much cheaper when it comes to the AIF. Now the next question you might have in your mind is, am I eligible for the AIF or can I go for the AIF? Now let's understand that part. So to get eligible for the AIF, you can approach any bank. Any bank will take your loan as a term loan, but AIF will help you to convert that loan into agriculture loan. 3% interest subsidy will be directly paid to the bank from the AIF directly, so you don't have to worry about. Now all these things can be clubbed with CGT MSE. Now let's understand what is a CGT MSE. Now whenever you approach any bank, whether you get approval from the AIF, bank might ask you for the collateral, to put something as a collateral before giving loans to you. What government does is, government helps you to connect CGT MSE scheme with the AIF, and government will ask you to pay 1% of the premium of the loan amount, and government will give you the collateral instead of you. That means at any condition, if you fail to repay the loan, government will repay the loan behalf of you, and against that government will charge you 1.5% of the premium amount of the entire loan amount. This is a kind of an insurance that government is giving to you. So government will collect 1.5% as an insurance premium, and in any case if you defaulted on the loan, government will pay the collateral. And this is how banks will have a highest ratio, the highest number of banks will clear the loan, will give it to you loan, because there is nothing at the risk for the banks. Government is giving the collateral, AIF is giving them the fund, bank is just a disbursing body in the entire process. And with this, hydroponics becomes much more affordable, because only 20% is your contribution, 80% can be loan, there is a no collateral, and most important, the loan is available only at 6% interest rate. Nothing in the world can stop you from making money in a hydroponic domain right now. Right now, hydroponic can be the most lucrative business to make your earning, make your income, because after doing all this, whatever money you make, you pay zero tax on that. So entire income is 100% tax free to you. Whatever money you are making out of the hydroponic, it is 100% your own money, it is 100% tax free money. So you don't have to pay that 30%, 20%, 15% income tax, no TDS, no ECS, no different kind of taxes which will be applied on you. Whatever income you make, the entire income will be 100% completely yours. Now, one more thing that we need to understand here is about the AIF structure. So let's go to the subsidy and documentation part. Many people have already applied. Now let's go to the AIF guidelines. So this AIF guidelines, based on this AIF guidelines, government has already given this to the hydroponic. So all this banking will be utilized to give this money, and 2 crore is the maximum amount you can get through the AIF, and 3% is the interest subvention. You will see 3% per annum is the interest subvention on maximum 2 crore of the loan which you can get from the AIF. And CGTMSE, credit guarantee cost. So this is a CGTMSE which is also clubbed with a AIF. That means Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises, CGTMSE scheme for loan up to 2 crore. This is also given by the government. That means at any time, at any case, if you are defaulting on the loan, government will pay off that loan instead of you. So this is how government is helping you to build a commercially profitable hydroponic farm, and these are the banks list. You will see the number of list is a very huge. Almost 484 banks. Every bank which is possibly known where you have a bank account, this bank is already associated with a agri infrastructure fund. You take any bank, whether it's a private bank, NBFC bank, any government bank, semi PSU bank or a PSU banks, they are already listed with a agri infrastructure fund. So there is nothing that is stopping you from building your hydroponic farm. With the government support, there is a hydroponic farming which is completely under agri infrastructure fund. So now let's jump back to our presentation and take it forward. And with the support from the government, one thing that we need to identify is the common mistakes that we should not do while starting our hydroponic journey or starting our hydroponic farm. So let's talk about those common mistakes that people do while setting up their hydroponic farm. The first biggest mistake that people do is they do not properly study the business of a hydroponic. In my personal life, in last 6 to 7 years in my hydroponic journey, I have at least met 1000 plus people personally who are running their hydroponic farm in India. In this 1000 plus people, I have seen some of the farms, they are not doing that great. They are not breaking even properly. They are not able to generate that revenue that is anticipated or that their farm is capable of. And I have identified the 7 mistakes that these people do which keeps them away from building a profitable hydroponic farm. Now let's talk about those mistakes. The first mistake is not properly studying the business of a hydroponic. So for example, today while we are sitting here, we are studying the business of a hydroponic. Many people don't do that. Many people don't spend that time or spend that energy to understand the underlining of the business. What hydroponic is consist of, what is a DPR, what is a project plan, what is the agri infrastructure fund, what is the government subsidies, the loans, the procedure, the applications, the banks, and how everything works together. People don't spend that enough amount of time before starting the hydroponic business. They start the business and as things comes into their way, they start exploring them or learning about them. So this is the biggest mistake that I have seen. You are on the right path because you are taking that webinar, you are taking that course, or you are taking that first step before jumping into hydroponic journey because you are properly studying the business before even starting the business. So this is a mistake that you have successfully avoided. The second mistake that I have seen is not properly understanding the location of business. Many people have done or have built their hydroponic farm just because the land which was available to them was their ancestral land or that was hometown. But they did not study what is a market size there. How far is a tier 1 city? How far is a tier 2 city? How far is a state highway or the national highway? What will be my pilferages cost is? What will be the charges if I want to take laborers there to work? What will be my charges in compared to the electricity, the water transportation and all these things. So properly studying the location, doing that site inspection way before starting your business or way before constructing your hydroponic farm is the most crucial when it comes to building a profitable hydroponic domain or building a hydroponic farm. So again, if you're planning to start your hydroponic journey, hydroponic business, make sure that you do your site inspection. You get to know that 72 parameters that will help you to build a commercially profitable DPR, and with that DPR you can go ahead and build a commercially profitable business. In personal life, we have done more than 300 site inspection and hydroponic projects are done only on 150 sites. Means 50% sites get rejected into the first site inspection phase itself. 50% sites, Kryzen rejects 50% sites when in the site inspection phase itself. So what can be 100% right when you're identifying that single site? So don't do that mistake. If you have only one site, hydroponic farming should be taken based on the site inspection survey. If you have 10 or more sites, compare all sites with each other and understand which is the most suitable site which can give the fastest ROI. We do that as well. Okay. Sometimes people have access to 2 or 3 or 4 sites. If you conduct site inspection at all those 4 sites, we can get the exact information and we can also identify which out of the 4 sites can give the fastest ROI in the simplest manner. This can help you to identify whether to set up a hydroponic farm. And this is the biggest mistake people do. They don't properly study or understand the location of the business. The third mistake the people do is taking way bigger step and they take it very early and very too fast. For example, 90% people who I met, the people who want to jump in or come into hydroponic, they come with a pre-notion that they will start on a 1 acre scale or else they don't think that they're suitable enough for this business. Again, the biggest mistake. If you're starting your hydroponic journey for the first time, you don't have any agriculture experience, you should start small. Start on a 10,000 square feet. learn your ways, understand the business, understand the nitty-gritties, get everything on the ground, get everything, get your hands dirty on the ground. Then you'll be able to build a large scale business. If you build a 1 acre farm at an early stage or the first stage, the biggest thing will be everything will be at the risk. Everything that means the financial, the business, the hydroponic farm. You don't have much of the knowledge. If you do anything, if something goes here and there, the entire farm will be at the risk. So you should not take that risk when you're starting the new business at the first time. So always start with a 10,000 square feet. I have seen farm which started at 1 acre or a 2 acre or a 5 acre and they shut down in less than a 1 year because operations were too big, too many laborers, managing so many products, managing too many buyers, having so much of a production, not able to find or identify the market. All things came crashing together on the founder, and this was the biggest mistake many people or multiple people have done, which have failed their hydroponic farm. So you should always start very small when it comes to the hydroponic farming. You can scale up as you get your expertise. You can definitely scale up. Fourth one, not properly doing the market research. Again, this is one of the biggest reason why hydroponic farm fail. So for example, if I want to grow, let's say, strawberry into a region where temperatures are very high, let's say in Rajasthan, the cost of transporting strawberry from Mahabaleshwar to Rajasthan will be much cheaper than cost of growing strawberry into Rajasthan. So people don't do that basic market research. What are the crops that are suitable for my location, which I can grow with a minimal effort, minimal capital expense or minimal operation cost? That is the crop I need to go for. People try to grow crops just because they sound fancy or they think that they can build a very big market into that. For example, one farm I met and they were growing 10 tons of jalapenos into Gujarat region. And when I asked them very simple question, what is the jalapenos consumption into the local market where you are planning to target? And the consumption was less than 1 ton per month. And the capacity they're trying to build was a 10 ton per week. So definitely there was a gap. They're not doing the proper market research before deciding the plant, before deciding the technology. So 10 ton jalapenos won't be able to supply into that local market where they are targeting, for which the hydroponic farm was created. So market research was the biggest issue or biggest mistake people have done in the past, which have occurred them a failed hydroponic farm. Now fifth one is not using a logging mechanism from early on. Many times, if something goes wrong into your hydroponic farm, you will immediately reach out to the agronomist. When you reach out to the agronomist needs a lot of data. What was your pH? What was your EC? What was the temperature? What was the humidity? What was the climatic condition under which the particular crop has been grown? And many people do not have any logging mechanism which can help agronomists to actually identify the problem or give you the solution. That is why agronomists also often go on a firefighting with the people, because even they don't know what is exactly happening at the farm level. And this is the biggest issue or biggest mistake people have done into their hydroponic journey, that they do not log this information. Logging is the most important part of running any hydroponic domain or any hydroponic industry. Sixth one is not sure about the crop and the market acceptance. Now this is again the biggest issue that many people have done. Take it a very simple example. You must be knowing about the banana. There are 10 types of different banana. Market doesn't accept all the type of banana. Or let's take the example of the chili. There are 100 types of the chili variants available into Indian market. But do we consume regular chili or the everyday, do we consume the different chilies? No, right? Sankeshwar chili is used for different purpose. The Bhut Jalakia is used for the different purpose. The Thai butt chili is used for the different purpose. We need to understand in chili what is that specific chili which has a highest market acceptance. Let's say green Magadhira chili has the highest market acceptance. Then we should be able to grow that. Just because we want to grow chili, we cannot randomly take any seed or any chili and start growing it and wait for market to accept our product. It is not possible. Into the product, into the plant, there is again a subdivision or a sub-plant which has a highest market acceptance. We should be able to identify that and grow that. This is a mistake many hydroponic farmers do. They only go for the crop which sound fancy. For example, I want to grow lettuce, But which lettuce? Lettuce romaine, lettuce iceberg, lettuce rocket, which exactly the lettuce? What is the market dynamics? What is the market acceptance into that particular region? People don't do that market research. This is again a biggest mistake. This is a common mistake that many hydroponic farmers do. Now the next is taking crops which offer more price at the moment. This is again a biggest mistake that I have seen people doing. If you do it 3-4 times, you might lose at the entire hydroponic business. I'll explain that how it happens. So for example, when I talk about the tomato, let's say sometimes tomato reaches a market price of 200 rupees. Immediately people get like, okay, I need to plant my tomato now so I can tap that market. By the time they get the production done, the market prices go to 2 rupees and they're devastated. Okay, I have seen the 200 rupees price, I have planted my tomato seeds. By the time I get the production, now tomato price is 2 rupees. Why is it happening? Because once the 200 price is touched, like us, many people have started planting for tomato. And when the market goes on to the more supply than the demand, the price automatically drop down. One thing that we need to identify here is, even if the rate of tomato reaches 200 rupees, it will stay there only for 2 to 3 days. Within a week, the rate will be normalized again. If rate goes to 2 rupees per, it will again 2 rupees per kg will stay only for 3 to 4 days. Within a week, again it will be normalized. 98% time, the tomato rate into any market will be somewhere around 30 rupees to 45 rupees. This is the average of a tomato pricing. We should always target for that. We should always target our production in such a way that maximum time we are able to get that 30 to 45 rupees price and still be viable or profitable enough. We don't have to chase that 200 rupees price which will happen once in an entire year, or we don't have to avoid the 2 rupees per kg price which will again happen once in an entire year. 98% time every commodity will work into the average pricing segment. So we should always target the average pricing segment and don't worry about the 2 rupees per kg rate or the 200 rupees per kg rate. So this was the 7 common mistakes that are done by the different hydroponic growers across the India, across the globe, and if you are successfully able to avoid those 7 mistakes, you can build a commercially profitable hydroponic farm. So after these common mistakes, now it is a time for the Q&A session. So in this Q&A session, along with me, there is my team which will be answering all the questions that you might have about the hydroponic domain. So on the right side of your screen, you must be seeing an input box where you can write down your question. As soon as you write down your question, some of the team member will give you the answer to make sure that every query or every question that you have asked is resolved. So rather than taking this entire Q&A sessions online with everyone, we are taking it a different approach where every question that will be answered to you. And this Q&A window will be live until the end of the webinar. So don't worry, don't rush things. If you have any questions, write them down into the input field, and some of the agronomists which are along with me today attending this webinar will definitely answer every question that you have asked. And with this Q&A, we'll be moving ahead and understanding the next part of the webinar topic, which is a hydroponic masterclass. Hydroponic masterclass is the hidden gem in a hydroponic journey which you can take up in an Indian hydroponic spectrum. So let's understand about the hydroponic masterclass today. We are offering you a hydroponic masterclass course. This hydroponic masterclass course is 23 hours long course and which will cover everything about the hydroponic into much detailed manner. This 2 hours webinar gave you the basic information about the hydroponic. We couldn't touch base every possible point because every point inside in it is a very different or a very big topic itself. So to cover all this topic and to before building your hydroponic business, we strongly ensure that you should have the complete detailed knowledge about the hydroponic, and for that you should enroll to hydroponicmasterclass.com. For you specifically for today, we have launched this coupon code which is JLR38 and you will get additional discount on a hydroponic masterclass. If you enroll to the hydroponic masterclass today, you will get additional discount. The additional discount, how much will be the discount? You go to the hydroponicmasterclass.com and there you will be identified. There you will find out how much discount is being offered. This discount is better than the entire market pricing or the hydroponic masterclass is being offered for. You'll find the link below this video. You can click on that link and you can visit www.hydroponicmasterclass.com. There you'll get the detailed hydroponic course and you'll understand every simple nitty-gritties of a hydroponic, which is explained into much more detailed manner. To give it a little bit more depth to understanding, let's identify, should I grow basil or should I grow spinach at my particular location to get the maximum ROI if my expenditure is around 40,000 rupees per month. This kind of a calculation will be much easier after you understand hydroponic masterclass. Or else, if temperature at my location is 30 degrees Celsius, but in the starting of June it reaches to 47 degrees Celsius, humidity is 75%, what is the system that I should opt in for? This answer will be much easier after doing a hydroponic masterclass. Or else, let's understand, if I am 80 km away from Mumbai city and 25 km away from the Pune city, what are the crops that I should target that I can help to get the maximum ROI in the shorter span of time? So again, this kind of a questions, this kind of a thinking pattern will be unveiled into hydroponic masterclass. And today we have a special discount which is JLR38. By using this coupon code, you can get additional discount on a hydroponic masterclass today. So this was all about hydroponic journey today. Today we understood almost every base point of a hydroponic journey, and most importantly, if you are planning to start your hydroponic journey, today's webinar gave you the most depth or most detailed understanding of how to think about a hydroponic business. Many times people think about hydroponic as an agriculture domain, but this is not just an agriculture. This is a business in itself. And to target or to analyze the business in itself, you need to have the different lens from where you can identify that loopholes, or you can identify that simple things that can help you build a commercially profitable hydroponic business. So this was all from me, guys. So this is your host for today, Sudhir Devkar, and I tried to give you as much best as information possible. I'll see you in a hydroponic masterclass where in the detailed manner I'll teach you everything. And one more important part, if I forgot to tell you, hydroponic masterclass comes with 100% money back refund guarantee. That means at any point if you felt hydroponic domain is not for you, we refund you the entire money that you spent on a hydroponic masterclass. So there is a no regret, there is a no reason not to take up. And if you want to explore your journey into hydroponic, you should definitely enroll for the hydroponic masterclass. With 100% money back guarantee, more than 60,000 people have already subscribed to the hydroponic masterclass. Every hydroponic farm which is done or designed after hydroponic masterclass is a successful hydroponic farm. So without wasting any time, join hydroponic masterclass. You'll find the link in the description, and after this webinar we will also share the link with you. So for today, special discount is there. So without wasting any time, do enroll. This is your host Sudhir Devkar. Bye bye. Take care.